Hello and welcome to this month's Participant Wellness Webinar. As always, this is Gary Sams, the Chief Wellness Officer for Ebix Benefits Administration and Wellness. And this month we're going to talk about something really different. I don't think I've ever done a presentation on this topic before, but it's becoming a more important one. And this one has to do with work-life balance and well-being and working shifts. And the subtitle I have here is How to Stay Healthy and Achieve Work-Life Balance if you work shifts. What we are finding is that many more of us today are working what I will call non-traditional work hours. In fact, approximately 40% of employees in the US work hours other than the traditional 9 to 5, and those are hours and work shifts such as evenings, nights, rotating shifts, or weekends. And from my perspective, shift workers are truly the heroes of modern society, because without them we wouldn't have the life that we have today. And we live in a 24-hour a day, always on society. And of course, some of the jobs associated with those needs, like healthcare workers, firemen, law enforcement officers, you are really required to address kind of the real-time emergencies and issues that we have. But others are a result of the expectations we have as consumers and citizens today. We want products and services available when we want them. And that requires many of us to work odd hours and long hours. But unfortunately, there are some health challenges and concerns that we need to address with this changing nature of work. Many studies of shift workers over the past decade have shown that shift workers pay a price for these evening work hours with higher risk than traditional workers. Some of those studies have documented higher risk for obesity, heart disease, diabetes, even some cancer risk, most associated with the health impacts of a lack of quality sleep, poor nutritional habits, and increased stress. For example, when you ask shift workers, many of them often complain about irritability, nervousness, and anxiety in relation to the more stressful work conditions and higher difficulties that they have than those that work, again, normal hours. One of the most important underlying factors in these risks is the conflict that shift workers have in going against their natural circadian rhythms. And most of us have heard that term before, circadian rhythms, but just in case you're not familiar with it, circadian rhythms are often called the body clock. And these circadian rhythms are physical, mental, and behavioral changes that follow kind of a daily natural cycle. They respond primarily to light and darkness in an organism's environment. Sleeping at night, being awake during the day is an example of light-related circadian rhythms. And these rhythms are found in most living things, animals, plants, and even tiny microbes. And the important thing for our discussion today is that circadian rhythms influence our sleep and wake cycles, hormone release, eating habits and digestion, body temperature, and really a host of other important bodily functions. So we really have to recognize and understand that when we're working overnight, for example, we're going against our body's natural rhythm of being asleep, and there's some health consequences that we really need to address and be aware of. I want to focus in particular on sleep because, as you know, sleep is really fundamental to our health and well-being. And in fact, next month I'm going to be doing a whole 4-week program on sleep called the Better Sleep Program, and I encourage you to enroll in that if you have an opportunity, because it really is important that we address sleep. The UCLA Sleep Disorder Center offered a number of suggestions for people working rotating shifts, and so I'm going to go over a few of those with you. On the last few days of an evening shift, delay going to bed and waking up by 1 or 2 hours. This should make it easier to adapt to a new shift schedule. Allow extra time to adjust to a new work schedule without reducing time for sleeping. So preparation is kind of a good underlying theme here, in allowing time for this adjustment to take place. One that I had never thought of before, but it's definitely related to kind of circadian rhythms and the influence that light has on us. They recommend wearing dark glasses or special goggles so that when you're coming out of an evening shift, you avoid the bright daylight and the other light cues that we get after finishing a night shift. So having dark glasses on hand are helpful. Try to stay on the same sleep schedule every day of the week, even on days off, to help align the body clock with your work schedule. And in general, the message from experts is that getting enough good quality sleep and minimizing disruption to your body's circadian rhythms are the best way for shift workers to stay healthy. So those are some important points to consider. Speaking of sleep, I'm often asked about naps. Are naps healthy for us? Is that something that we should do? And I think that's particularly important if you're a shift worker, to consider naps. But there is, believe it or not, a right way and a wrong way to nap. Naps are really a perfect way to supplement sleep as a shift worker, because even a short nap can help you think more clearly and feel more alert. But you really do have to kind of know the secrets to effective napping. So a couple points I want to go over in that regard. First, when should you nap? Before work is a good time to nap, especially if you're a daytime sleeper who didn't get quite enough hours of rest. Napping on breaks or before you drive home can also help you stay safer, healthier, and be more rested. The early afternoon and early morning hours are good times for napping because they are when your alertness naturally dips. Remembering those circadian rhythms, there's a natural dip in the early afternoon and early morning, and you feel sleepy anyway. So consider that, early morning and later in the afternoon. Another important point is how long should you nap? Experts consider 20 minutes the ideal nap duration, and that really allows your brain to go beyond just the light stage of sleep into truly restful sleep so that you get the full benefits of it. Sometimes if you nap longer than that, particularly when you awake from the nap, you feel drowsy and groggy for a period of time. So 20 minutes is really pretty ideal. Another tip to effective napping is to set an alarm, because a lot of times, I know in my case, sometimes I feel like, maybe I'll just take a short little nap here, but then I'm so worried that if I fall asleep, I won't wake up in a reasonable time, that I really can't take an effective nap. So set an alarm so that you don't have to worry about that. Set it for 20 minutes, maybe 25, thinking that it's going to take you a little time to fall asleep. But if you set that alarm, then subconsciously you're not worried about and thinking about, am I going to wake up in time or what have you. So that's an important tip as well. Finally, I want to close this with just some general tips and ideas about the idea of finding balance, in your life, because it really is a challenge, when you're working different shifts. There are some people that love shift work, and there are others that are really challenged by it. But if you follow these ideas, I think it can make a difference in really improving kind of your overall work-life balance. So the first one is prepare for shift changes. At least 3 days before a change in schedule, start moving your sleep and wake times gradually to ease the transition. Number 2, hone your napping skills, just like we talked about. Utilize napping effectively to kind of help make up the difference here. Successful shift workers are often experts at supplementing sleep with a quick cat nap before work or after work before driving home, because again, it makes you more alert. Tip 3, communicate. And communications are important in all aspects of life, but particularly for those working odd hours. Be honest with the important people in your life about your schedule, your sleep needs, and how much you can take on. Don't overcommit yourself. 4, embrace your schedule. Instead of fighting your schedule or skipping necessary sleep, embrace your lifestyle. Find ways to have fun, socialize, enjoy holidays, run errands, and do other activities on your schedule instead of trying to fit the time frame of a 9-to-5 normal work world. 5, make the most of your free time. This is important for all of us. Working at night or pulling long shifts can lead to feelings of isolation. Enrich your time off with activities you enjoy and that allow you to feel connected to yourself and to the world around you. 6, be safe. Fatigue and late night hours can increase accident risk. Take extra safety precautions, know when you are too tired to work safely, and perform risky, difficult work early in your shift if possible. And of course, as always, never drive drowsy. And 7th and finally, appreciate. How many folks on a 9-to-5 schedule get to see a beautiful sunrise on their way home from work? Enjoy a midweek breakfast with their significant other, or grocery shop when there's no lines. So accentuate the positive. Relish shift work small pleasures and create a few of your own. It's the best way to succeed at shift work. And so, as always, in closing out, I want to thank you for your time today. Again, shift workers are truly the heroes of modern society. We wouldn't have the life that we lead, the conveniences that we have, any of that, if it weren't, for people willing to work beyond the normal 9-to-5. So we celebrate you, and I hope that you'll take some of the tips and advice and information that we shared today to heart, and you'll put them to work in your life. And as always, appreciate the time and attention. There's a little short survey at the end to complete to get credit for the webinar, so please complete that, and we look forward to talking to you next month.